Hi all, today we will discuss about Kubernetes. So what is Kubernetes, when to use Kubernetes, why we need Kubernetes. So either while we use Kubernetes, Docker is required. So this is the overview of Kubernetes, which will be covered this, what is Kubernetes. So we'll see here what is the Kubernetes. So Kubernetes, suppose if you have created any applications and you need to deploy it somewhere in your environment, either we have cloud or maybe in the other server. So once you have to deploy it in that, so you have to share some of the code. So that how we will share this code, either the code will be shared by either maybe zip file, either jar file, war file, ER file. Before that, microservice architecture application. Now what we are deploying. So suppose if any others developer or any other person has came and they have modified and they created any other again jar, and something happened, you need to extract this whole jar and then see what are the changes, where is that and all. So that will be very complex and all. So once you need to deploy the application, now it is Docker is coming in these pictures. So that Docker is a way which will be create an image of your application. So that image directly you can deploy it instead of going for this jar, var or ER. So that image, what will happen inside this image will taken care all your what is the Java version, what will be the server name, where we need to deploy it, and what are the applications name and locations where we create a Docker. So once Docker image has been created, so that will be create a manage a container. So that we have a container registry where we have to install all the images based on the different modules. Suppose we have a multiple microservices where we have different modules, so that we created a Docker image. Then how you will be, so we have a Docker registry where we have to register all the images. Now how you will manage this one, so that if applications will come in these pictures, then how this will be taken care from this container 1 registry, container 2, container 3, and like that. So we have a Docker Kubernetes which will be manage this all. So we'll see like what is Kubernetes, when to use. See this is the Dockers, and use the Docker container and package the application. What is the Docker? So Docker is used for the container to package your application, so that Docker should make my application to work the same regardless of the environment. That is called Docker. And that's the same Docker if you want to deploy it. Say if you have to deploy it on 3 different servers, like server 1, server 2, server 3, using Docker, and your application start getting massive traffic, like more than traffic is going, whatever the expectations you have. So based on the expectations, look like increase your traffic, or maybe expectations will fail in that time, like you expect some of 1000 traffic will come, now 1 lakh traffic is coming in that application. So your application start getting massive traffic, then wow, my application is going to better than I thought it would be. So how you will be scaling, like what we are doing, create an application, creating Docker image instead of jar, var and ER. Now we need to deploy application. While you are deploying this application of Docker, then they will have a scaling. So that how scaling will work. Suppose if traffic is coming, or maybe if now you need to scale up fast, how we will go to the server 3 server to 40 servers that you may require. Like scaling means like you have a right now 3 server. Suppose in future you can increases through 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and all. So we have a like multiple servers are there. So how you will be scaling automatically? In that cases, we'll go for the Kubernetes. So how you decide which container should go where? So monitor all the container and make sure they restart if they die. Suppose if any other container is not working or something happened, then automatically that will be transferred to the other container. So that make sure that restart if the others die, like others is not stopping or not working properly, then So out of control. So how I am going to manage all those things? So suppose if you are using either jar or other AR file, in that cases you want to be able to control these things or scenarios. So how I am going to manage these all? I need to restart the systems and all, and maybe allocated some different services or container, so that Docker has come, and then Docker, by using Kubernetes we have to manage this. So this is the Kubernetes part. So this is where Kubernetes come into play. Like I need to create a more instance, so wouldn't be easier. This behavior was handled by a system. So if you want to create a multiple instance, and that is not easier, how this will be managed and all. So this all, see in this image also we see, like suppose we have multiple dockers are there, docker 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11. So how this all will be managed? If you have a docker, that all docker images or container is called one application or one module application. Like in e-commerce we have a cart service, checkout service, order service, payment service, and notification services. So these all are the different docker images has created. How this will be called managed by this docker? So Kubernetes will come in this pictures, and Kubernetes is where comes and play. So Kubernetes, like aka K8s or cubes, we can say Kubernetes aka K8s or cubes is an open source container orchestration platform that automate deployment, managing, scaling containerization application. Like containerization application means, like you created a docker image, so that docker image will container one containerization application. So how this Kubernetes will orchestration, like how this will be automatically manage all those things, automatically deploying, managing and all. So that will come in this Kubernetes part. So how these all are the container, have you seen in this pictures, these all are docker container is there. So how this will be worked? So someone will come in these pictures, they have to check what type of request related for which applications. So how this will be managed? Either this is not working container, then they have to create an instance of this container, or maybe some backup will be there, so that backup will be start while this is processing and all. So that will be happen through the Kubernetes. So Kubernetes will happen container orchestration platform, automate deploying, managing and scaling containerization application. So these three things will be automate deploying, managing and scaling the containerized application using Kubernetes. See there, don't worry, I will take care and control. See, like this image, these all are the Docker container. So how this will be handled? So this Kubernetes come into pictures, and he told, like, don't worry, I'll take care and manage. Like, so how it work? Kubernetes cluster consists of a set of worker machine called node. Set of worker machine that will be Kubernetes clusters will be created, that is called node, and run containerized application, and run the containerized application based on the Docker image. So here in this Kubernetes K8 cluster. Why K8? Because Kubernetes spelling will start from A and end from S. So 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. Kubernetes. So that Kubernetes, not ES, Kubernetes will start from 8. So K will be start K and S. In between we have a 8 word is there. See, Ubernetes. So K8S means Kubernetes cluster. So in that, what is there? If you'll see here, this master node is there. One is the master node in chain charge, and others is multiple nodes has been created, like worker node 1, worker node 2, worker node 3. So in worker node we have also multiple sub node is there, like node 1, node 2, node 1, node 2, node 3, like that. So master node will be assigned to the worker node. So every cluster has at least one worker node. Yeah, so every clusters will have a, like, clusters is called Kubernetes Docker image. So every clusters have at least one worker node. Hence, if node is failed, like if every cluster have one worker node, if node is failed, your application is still accessible from the other node, a cluster, because multiple node is grounded. Like what will happen, suppose if you have this cluster, so that cluster we have a multiple worker, every cluster will have a worker node, and worker node have multiple nodes. So suppose if your A nodes has stopped, or maybe something happened, then automatically B will be start. If B will be stopped, then automatically C will start. So that's why we used Kubernetes. So multiple node is grouped here. So once if any is failed, then others will start. So our application will scale up for while we are going for the deployment. Or so this is the architecture of Kubernetes, like how we worked or use a Kubernetes. So this is the YAML file. So you need to define the YAML file in a Spring Boot application property. So YAML file. So in that YAML you have to define all those Kubernetes configurations detail. So Kubernetes configurations detail have a master node. So that master node is a API server. So what type of server is there? Pods services. In API server, what is the pod's name and service name is defined, and then the pod's name, service name is defined, then scheduler, controller, and then after that we'll have a multiple C's. 3 worker node has been defined. Suppose if you have 3 container, so see this is the Docker container, Docker 1, Docker 2, Docker 3. So in these 3 container we have a one worker node has assigned, and one worker node has assigned for kubelet proxy, kubelet proxies and all. So after that, here we have a multiple pods are there. So if any pods has been not working, then that will be other pods will work or define like that. So this is the architecture of Kubernetes. So if you go for the definition, every node contains a container runtime. Every node contains a container runtime QLT for starting and stopping and managing individual container by request on the kube control plan, and kube proxy for networking and load balancing. So here if you'll see these two things, we have YAML property. So in that YAML property we have a master Kubernetes details. So master node is there. Master node is an API server which is pod and services will have there, and scheduler and controller. After that we will define all the worker node, so that all worker node will have a kubelet and proxy. Kubelet means like a kubelet is a which will be a start, stop and manage the applications, and proxy means it will be taken care all the networking, load balancing. So how this will be managed? So we have a Docker, we have multiple pods and all are there. So how this will be managed, that is called Kubernetes. So Kubernetes, if you learn Kubernetes, we will go for the more about this Kubernetes videos. There we will see, this is the just overview what is the Kubernetes, when to use the Kubernetes, while we use the Kubernetes, then how we will deploy the application, how our applications will scale up, and how Kubernetes will do the container orchestration to automate, deploy, managing and scaling our containerization application. So you need to run the Kubernetes or install your Kubernetes in your cloud platform or in your machine, and then run through this command. So you have to also run some learn some kubectl command also. Yeah, thank you for that. Please subscribe my channel if you watch it. Yeah, thank you.